Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and welcome to Omni at the Movies Oscar Edition. I figured that after the disaster that was the 89th Academy Awards, I should come back and see how the 90th Academy Awards did. And let's not kid ourselves folks, the 89th ceremony was a train wreck of the greatest kind. Not only was it painful to sit through, but there was also that infamous Best Picture fiasco. Having to live down a terrible ceremony with a disastrous ending would have been difficult enough, if not for the current atmosphere that's currently permeating Hollywood. You know what I'm talking about. That whole atmosphere of sexual harassment accusations that's wavering somewhere between a genuine exposing of Hollywood's dark underbelly and a full-blown witch hunt where anyone with a Y chromosome is automatically guilty. Yes, I do think it's somewhere between those two extremes. We're not really here to talk about that in detail, but I think we were all wondering how it was going to factor into the Oscars. After all, this sort of thing was permeating every other award ceremony, so I'm sure we were all wondering what was going to happen at this particular one. So yeah, the 90th ceremony was facing a triple threat. It had to live down its Emperor's New Clothes moment. It had to face the awkward dichotomy of celebrating an industry that's going through a very rough patch at the moment. And Jimmy Kimmel was hosting again. So it is somewhat of a relief to say that the 90th Academy Awards was much better than the 89th. That doesn't necessarily mean it was good, but it was better. Let me put it this way. The 89th Academy Awards was painful, the 90th Academy Awards was palatable. It got off to a weak start. The opening bits were not very good at all if you ask me. But the further along it went, the more I found myself enjoying it. Well, to a certain degree anyway. Heck, there were even a few surprises for me. Not many though. There were still some things I saw coming a mile away. Pixar winning Best Animated Feature is always a given, unless it's Cars. Most of the awards going to the historical dramas, also easy to tell. I actually did predict that Blade Runner 2049 would get Best Visual Effects, and I was right on the money. It was either that or War for the Planet of the Apes. Though I have to admit, the clip they showed for War from the Planet of the Apes didn't really have good special effects. Maybe they accidentally used an unfinished shot, I really don't know. All I know is that the shots they used from Kong Skull Island looked far more convincing. What did surprise me was that The Shape of Water won the coveted awards, Best Director and Best Picture. The only reason that surprises me is because The Shape of Water is a monster movie. The Academy has always been biased against sci-fi and horror, so the fact that they actually gave a sci-fi horror movie the Best Picture award is really kind of shocking. I don't know if they're loosening up their standards or what, but hey, I'm not complaining. Regarding the rest of the ceremony, even though it was still very long, like I said, it was less painful than the last one, and I think a large part of that is because they trimmed the fat. The 89th Academy Awards had a boatload of padding to it, and not even good padding. It was an attempt to make the Academy Awards more like Jimmy Kimmel Live, and it just fell flat on its face. The 90th Academy Awards didn't really have that. Well, I mean there was still padding, but it felt more natural than the other stuff. I think this is best exemplified by comparing the two different stunts that were attempted in both ceremonies. During the 89th Awards, things were arranged so a bus tour of Hollywood would stop off at the theater during the Oscars and the people would get to go in and see what things were like. Great experience for them, I'm sure, but all it added to the ceremony was time. And the ceremony was already long and painful enough by then. This year they did something a bit similar but a bit different. Rather than bringing the fans to the stars, they brought the stars to the fans. Apparently in the theater across the street, they brought a lot of fans in under the auspices of getting a sneak peek of A Wrinkle in Time. And perhaps halfway through the movie, Jimmy Kimmel went over with a bunch of volunteer stars from the Oscars to go and surprise them and bring everyone snacks. And this, of course, was also the Academy's way of thanking the movie-going audience. A sentiment which also felt like it was accompanied by, "Please don't be mad at us, we know we've been screwing up the last few years, but we're trying to be better, please don't hate us, please, please, please don't hate us." My own cynicism aside, I still think this was a much better way of doing things. Kimmel got quite a few people to come with him. Guillermo del Toro, Gal Gadot, Mark Hamill, Armie Hammer, a whole bunch of them. And of course, my favorite part of that whole segment was how Gal Gadot kept saying, "This is so much better than the Oscars!" Gotta say I agree with her. After all, Wonder Woman is the paragon of truth. So yeah, in short, this was one of the better Oscar ceremonies we've gotten in a long time. I'm not quite done though. There are a few other things I think are worth noting. First and foremost, if anyone from the Oscars is actually listening to this, guys, you've got to do something about the audio quality during the songs. I kid you not, during every single live musical number, the audio was just bad. There's this constant popping and crackling sound accompanying the vocals. And I'm fairly certain it's a problem with the Academy's audio system itself, because the guy singing the song from Coco really seemed to notice there was something going on and it was throwing him off badly. Seriously guys, fix the audio. I don't remember this stuff being a thing up until a few years ago. It really needs to be corrected. The In Memoriam section also carried with it another surprise. Haruo Nakajima was represented. Mr. Nakajima, of course, was the original Godzilla suit actor. Now bear in mind, I'm not surprised because they remembered him. The man certainly deserves that recognition. I'm surprised because I can't think of another time when the Academy Awards has ever acknowledged the Godzilla series in any capacity, and that is what Haruo Nakajima is known for. Who knows, between this and The Shape of Water winning Best Picture, maybe the Academy is getting more accepting of the idea of quote-unquote genre work being recognizable as award-worthy. Not that I think awards actually matter when it comes to art, but you know what I mean. And speaking of The Shape of Water, I have to ask, where the heck was Doug Jones? He was strangely absent from the proceedings. I thought he was there because of a gag they did during the opening, but no, he wasn't in the audience, and Guillermo del Toro didn't mention him at all. It's kinda surprising, actually. And also kind of troubling. I haven't seen any news saying that Jones and del Toro have had some kind of falling out, so I certainly hope that's not the case. If they have, I hope they make up soon. Still, it was really weird that he wasn't present. Well, I guess that's all I really have to say at this point. The 90th Academy Awards were better than the 89th. That could be a sign of an upward trend, but I'm not holding my breath. The 91st Oscars needs to be even better than the 90th now. As always, if you have any feelings about the Oscars, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.